Hello and welcome to Hamstaku, a new channel for all things nerdy. My name is Dominic and on this channel I'm going to talk to you guys a lot about video games, among other things. That's why I wanted to start this channel by talking about my favorite games of all time. That way you know where I'm coming from when I talk to you guys about games in the future. The important thing to note about this list is that it is not ranked, with the exception of the number 1 game, which is actually my favorite game of all time. So, without further ado, these are the first 10 of my favorite games of all time. Enjoy!
Number 20. Burnout Paradise. Burnout Paradise, one of the games that showed us what a next generation racing game could be. Being the first Burnout game that borrowed a page out of GTA's book and took place in an open world, Burnout Paradise changed the rules of racing. It wasn't about just getting from point A to point B anymore. Now you had to know the city, feel the city. Be the city? Okay, you don't have to be a city. But after a few hours of play, you will definitely learn to know and love Paradise City. With its buttery smooth frame rate and its sense of speed, racing always felt fast and fun. Burnout Paradise also took away any kind of menu. You jump into the city and drive, find any crossroads with lights to start its corresponding event, and off you go. The only negative aspect of the game is the fact that Criterion took out the classic crash mode, wherein you had to launch your car at a busy street and try to cause the maximum amount of damage. I also like to call this mode the Michael Bay mode. They changed this mode for the ability to bounce your car at any moment and try to cause damage that way, but it wasn't nearly as fun. Burnout Paradise was also one of the first, and to this point probably the best example for DLC done right. Criterion supported the game for over a year with a combination of both free and paid DLC. A whole vehicle class was available for free with the bike update, and the paid Big Surf Island update added a whole new area to the game with new cars and events. Now that's how you make DLC. For all these reasons, Burnout Paradise is my favorite racing game. Number 19. Knights of the Old Republic. I've been a Star Wars fan ever since I've seen Empire Strikes Back when I was 5 years old. And even if being a Star Wars fan hasn't always been easy, the passion for the galaxy far, far away never left me. And in the world of video games, there's one Star Wars game that is better than any other: Knights of the Old Republic. BioWare's RPG combines the developer's talents for storytelling with the charm of the Star Wars universe. It is tried and true RPG mechanics based on the Dungeons & Dragons system, the granddaddy of all RPGs. At a time when the Star Wars franchise was on a downward spiral, Knights of the Old Republic reminded us why we loved Star Wars in the first place, for its story and its characters. While some of these may seem like stock character cliches at first glance, they all have well-developed backstories and interesting arcs throughout the game. I mean, come on, do you know anybody who doesn't like this guy?
Query: would you rather be caught with contraband that is very illegal, or just a little illegal? Expletive. Damn it, Master. I am an assassination droid, not a dictionary.
He's amazing! Their characters are so well defined, in fact, that they may not like the way you play the game. You can choose to be the nicest space monk ever or the most evil bastard this side of Darth Maul. And since every character has its own moral values, they may leave your party or even turn against you when you act in a way they don't approve of. While the moral choices aren't as interesting or morally ambiguous as other games like Dragon Age, the simplicity fits the setting and the dichotomy between the light and dark side of the Force. Telling a story full of betrayal, love, redemption, and war held together by its memorable characters, Knights of the Old Republic is a game no fan of RPGs should miss. It also has one of the best twists since
I am your father.
Number 18. Shadow of the Colossus. Shadow of the Colossus tells the story of a young warrior who's desperately trying to bring his... well, the game never specifies, so let's call her a princess. It's always a princess, right? Back to life. To achieve this, he has to fight and kill 12 of the most beautifully designed bosses ever created. Everyone completely different in appearance, behavior, and the way the battle unfolds. The beautiful thing about Shadow of the Colossus is that it uses emptiness better than any other game. While looking for the Colossi, you are traversing a barren landscape on your trusty horse. While other games would get boring without constant conflict, Shadow of the Colossus more than any other game lets you marvel in the beauty of its world and enjoy the journey to the next battle. Team Ico could have easily populated the world with stock enemies, but that would only take away from the sense of grandeur and isolation you feel while exploring this world. A world which still looks great to this day and brought the PS2 to its limits, as the slowdown can attest to. But luckily the PS3 version's framerate is silky smooth. The journey to the next Colossus also serves as very important downtime, since all the fights are pulse-pounding, adrenaline-filled affairs that will have you at the edge of your seat. And I haven't even talked about the music yet! Jesus, the music is so beautiful, so magnificent, so full of energy. Once you have fought the Colossus to this soundtrack, it will never leave your head. If for some reason you have not played this game yet, change that. Number 17. Ninja Gaiden. Before Ninja Gaiden was a Call of Duty-inspired disappointment, and after it was a great but uneven trilogy on NES, it was the best character action game around. While that moniker in my opinion is still applicable, with the possible exception of Bayonetta, Ninja Gaiden stands the test of time as one of the great action games. What makes this game amazing are the little details Team Ninja implemented. And I'm not talking about boob physics here, I said small details. It is just a very polished game, starting by the beautiful level design to the graphics that still look good even on the Xbox One version. I mean the first Xbox. Jeez Microsoft, see what you did? Something that I really appreciate about this game is that its whole world is interconnected. I wouldn't quite call it an open world game, it is more akin to a Metroidvania game, where you backtrack through old areas to unlock new paths. The whole world just seems very coherent, something its sequels unfortunately abandoned. The controls and the battle system are so incredibly fluid that it's a sheer joy to throw yourself at the next challenge. And there is a lot of challenge to this game. As everyone knows who played this game, it is very tough. But it is mostly fair. Ryu has so many different weapons and abilities that you are always in a position to prevail. You just have to be good enough. And while that might sound like the old try sucking less argument, there's more to it. Since the game is so fluid and fast, your reaction time is to keep up. Ryu is incredibly fast, and if you know what you're doing, you can dance around most enemies and dispatch them with ease. But until you get used to all your abilities, they will probably do the same to you. The game was so difficult that allegedly the Microsoft certification testers had to fly someone from Team Ninja in to complete the game in front of them, since they couldn't do it. I can only imagine that he just breezed through it while they watched in awe. The beauty of design like this is that once the game clicks with you, you will destroy bosses that once left you cowering in fear. This is especially noticeable once you replay the game, even if it is on a harder difficulty setting. Number 16. Yoshi's Island. I know what you want to say. Baby Mario's cries are annoying, I know that. But damn, this game is such a masterpiece of creative design. And don't get me wrong, Mario 64, Mario 3, Mario Galaxy and Mario World are pretty much on the same level, but this game is special to me. Every level a new challenge with new engaging mechanics, every world full of secrets to uncover, every boss a new challenge. This is how you make a sequel to a great game. Nowadays, Nintendo seems content to just remake the same game with slightly different levels. But there was a time when a Nintendo sequel showed you just why Nintendo is a master at wonderful design full of imagination and splendor. The egg mechanics were a great new element in platforming, since it greatly increased the level design possibilities. I mean, jumping on enemies is cool and all, but how about eating enemies, turning them into eggs, and using those eggs to create paths throughout the level? It also had some of the weirdest power-ups ever. Screw Tanukis, let's just turn Yoshi into a freaking helicopter. This game plays like no other Mario game, and that is why I love it. Yoshi's Island, to me, represents Nintendo at the height of its creativity. Number 15. Final Fantasy Tactics. This is my favorite Final Fantasy by far. And when I was debating with myself whether I should put this or the Tactics Ogre remake on this list, I had to go with Final Fantasy Tactics, since it got things right the first time. While the game was criminally overlooked by most people when it first came out, due to the fact that it came out around the same time as this game, it is a game you could still play and enjoy wholeheartedly, unlike games like, this one. When I first played Final Fantasy Tactics, I didn't get it. I never really played strategy RPGs before and didn't quite understand what I had to do. My characters kept dying faster than characters in Game of Thrones, and I couldn't even get past one of the first battles in the game. But then, when I picked the game back up a couple of years ago, it clicked. I saw past the Final Fantasy name and finally understood the deep and very satisfying mechanics. The drop system is one of the best in the genre, and the story about religion, sacrifice and redemption centered around a historical cover-up by the church is still one of the better Final Fantasy tales. If you can understand it, that is, since it was rather poorly translated. But it is so much fun to build an unstoppable team of diverse character classes and unlocking the secret jobs. While most Final Fantasy games are either story-focused, like Final Fantasy IV, or mechanics-focused, like Final Fantasy V with its very similar job system, Final Fantasy Tactics combines a great story with satisfying mechanics. The only problem is that there is no definitive version of the game, since the original PS1 release was apparently written by drunks, and the PSP remake, while beautifully translated, suffers from severe slowdown. While I prefer the PSP version due to its translation, the slowdown is really annoying, so the choice is up to you. But you should definitely not miss this game. Number 14. Mega Man X. For years people have been arguing about what the best Mega Man game is. Is it Mega Man 2? Mega Man 3? Mega Man Soccer? To me, the best Mega Man game is Mega Man X. It has the best level design, perfectly utilizing the new abilities Mega Man gains in this game, like the wall jump and the dash. It has the best music, the coolest bosses, and the most interesting secrets. You could even influence the level design by the order you play them in. Throughout the game you would constantly find new and exciting upgrades, further increasing Mega Man's abilities. You could even find a freaking Hadouken! What more do you need? Mega Man X to me is the pinnacle of the Mega Man franchise. Or in simpler terms,
Mega Man X is so fucking good that it makes my dick rock hard.
Number 13.
Resident Evil 4.
I've been a fan of Resident Evil ever since I played the first game, not knowing what it was about and being way too young for it. While Resident Evil 2 is probably my most played game, I played through that at least 30 times, Resident Evil 4 is one of the best games I have ever played. It broke with a lot of Resident Evil's traditions, including getting rid of zombies, the static camera angles, and the overall Umbrella-centric story. Instead, it follows Leon S. Kennedy on his way to a Spanish village on a mission to save the president's daughter. The game did something no Resident Evil since the first one did. It reintroduced mystery into the story. I mean, playing any Resident Evil after one, you pretty much know what's going on. Umbrella fucked up, and zombies roam the lands. What happened in Resident Evil 2? Umbrella fucked up, and zombies roam the lands. What happened in Resident Evil 3? Umbrella fucked up, and zombies roam the lands. What happened in Resident Evil Code Veronica? Umbrella fucked up, and you know how it goes. In Resident Evil 4, you don't really know where you are or what's going on. Why are the people acting so weird? Who is that guy? Why am I collecting chicken eggs? For the first time in Resident Evil history, you could aim freely. Even though some people didn't like the fact that you couldn't move while aiming, the game was perfectly designed around your abilities. You could shoot enemies in specific spots to trigger different interactions, which greatly increased your strategic possibilities. Resident Evil 4 also constantly surprised you by defying your expectations. In the first part of the game, you learn that headshots are the most effective way of playing. Makes sense. But then it gets dark, the enemy's eyes start glowing, and this happens when you shoot them in the head. All of a sudden, headshots are a very bad idea, and you need to adjust your playstyle on the fly. And the game does this kind of thing constantly. It also adjusts the difficulty on the fly, depending on your skill level, ensuring that you always survive by the skin of your teeth and the tension is constantly high. This is further enforced by the fact that you constantly traverse different environments and have to adapt to new and very diverse challenges, but never for too long. That way the game always keeps you going and keeps a steady pace. It also has the best unlockable bonus mode ever created. Number 12. Half-Life 2. Man, I really hope that there aren't a lot of people that don't know why Half-Life 2 is awesome. But anyway, here's why I think it's awesome. First is the world building. Half-Life 2 is one of the best games in creating a living, breathing world. A world that tells its story through its environments and things happening around you, not necessarily to you. The story of the game may sound slim at first glance, because there isn't a lot of exposition, but so much happens in the world, and so much of it can be gathered by the state of the environment. It's like walking through a historically significant environment like Rome or Jerusalem. You just inhale the history. Half-Life 2, just like Resident Evil 4, is very well paced and never uses one gameplay hook for long enough to overstay its welcome. I mean look, first you get chased, then you talk to allies, then you learn to use the gravity gun, then you traverse a creepy town, then you shoot guys, later on you avoid getting eaten by antlions, then you use antlions to attack a prison, and so on and so forth. You have no time to get used to one gameplay element before a new one is thrown at you. And the transitions between these set pieces are so well executed that there is no logical stopping point for the game. Every end of a set piece is the beginning of a new one, while always leaving enough breathing room to take in and appreciate the set pieces. This is something a lot of modern shooters ignore, which leaves them all feeling like one big drawn-out action scene that never ends. Kinda like the end of Man of Steel or any Transformers movie. Valve is known for using playtesting to fine-tune the game, so players can seamlessly traverse the game world while minimizing aspects that hamper the game flow, and it really shows in Half-Life 2. Number 11. Persona 4. Definitely one of the best JRPGs ever made. In Persona 4 you play as a young transfer student arriving in a small Japanese town. Your job is to team up with a group of fellow students and uncover a murder mystery. In this, Persona 4, just like its predecessor, combines elements of dating sims and JRPGs. You simulate a Japanese student's day-to-day life during the waking hours, while fighting and collecting monsters with your party at night. And while some might cringe when they hear that dating sim elements are in an RPG, they are implemented in a rather smart way. Throughout the game you have to increase your relationships with different characters. These interactions are called social links in the game. By strengthening your social links, your characters gain better abilities in combat and you gain the ability to create more powerful personas to use in battle. And the monster designs and themes are quite amazing. Are Pokemon too cute for you? How about summoning the freaking devil? Or using the God of War Ares as your companion? You can do that. To get more powerful personas, you have to use the game's compelling fuse system that lets you combine personas to create a stronger one, inheriting some of the abilities of the personas fused. Persona 4 also sports one of the most lovable cast of characters this side of Final Fantasy VI. Each of these characters is clearly defined, charming, funny, and has to deal with his own personal issues. And while such problems might manifest in other games as whiny emo characters, looking at you Squall, here they all actually deal with their problems and grow as individuals. And the problems on display are actually quite interesting, from the stress of popularity to confronting your own sexuality. And even the social link characters outside of your party all have interesting tales to tell, whether it's the members of your sports club, the girl in drama club, or a melancholic old lady. All stories are worth exploring and far removed from your typical RPG lore. The battle system is fast and encourages smart playing by focusing on exploiting enemies' weaknesses. There are also no random encounters, and if you are too strong for your enemies, they will flee from you, further streamlining aspects that hamper a lot of other JRPGs. I like games about choices, and Persona constantly presents you with a myriad of choices each day. Do I hang out with a girl from drama class or raise my courage by watching horror flick? Do I grind some levels in a dungeon or earn money on a student job? Since an important test is coming up, do I spend the day studying, or would I rather read a book that raises my expression so I can explore new social links? Everyone who is fed up with your typical JRPG tropes owes it to himself to at least try Persona 4. You will not be disappointed.
So, I hope you enjoyed the first part of this video and will join me next time when we look at the next 10 games, including my very favorite game of all time. Until then, if you have any feedback at all, put it in the comments section, I'd like to read it. Also, what are some of your favorite games? Let me know. So, see you next time on Hamstaku.